everyone, welcome to Healthy with Jolene. Today I thought we would make some cranberry orange scones, a great seasonal dessert or just a great snack with coffee and tea. Very easy to make, only takes about 20 minutes of prep time and about 15 minutes of cook time. I have our ingredients all laid out to start. I have the flour, the sugar, orange zest, cold butter. You need cold butter for the cutting in. And I have about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We have the baking soda and the baking powder. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is combine all of these ingredients in a small bowl. Start with the flour, 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour for this recipe. All right, and then I have our 7 teaspoons of sugar. A tablespoon of orange zest. Love the smell of orange zest. All right, we have our baking powder. Quarter teaspoon of salt. Baking soda. And now for the next step, we're going to cut in the cold butter. It's 1/3 cup of cold butter, and you need to use cold butter for this step. I cut it into slices so we can combine it better. All right, I like to use this dough scraper. You can also use a pastry cutter. Just really get in there. Cut in the cold butter with the flour and other dry ingredients. Okay, and you should see the dough start to get a little clumpy as the butter combines with the flour. Okay. And once the butter is all cut in and combined, we'll set that aside. This is an important part of the pastry biscuit method, cutting the cold butter into the flour. Scones have that pastry taste, but they have that quick bread kind of doughy texture to them. All right, so after that's combined, we're going to set that aside. Okay, so the next ingredients we're going to incorporate are dried cranberries, 1 egg at room temperature. We have our 1/2 milk and our orange juice. We're going to combine all of these into a bowl. Set everything aside for washing later. 1/2 and our orange juice. All right, we're going to give that a good mix. Incorporate the egg, the cranberries to make a nice mixture. See everything combined here. Okay. All right, and then next we're going to take our flour mixture that we made earlier. We're going to mix in the orange juice, the egg, the cranberries. Okay, and we'll combine everything until we get a soft dough. Really mix everything in. I like to use this spatula. Just really combine everything. And what you can do, move this off here, set that aside. You can, use your hands just to incorporate all of the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients. Oops. A bit sticky until we get all the flour incorporated here. Get all that back in there. Okay, you can make sure any last clumps of butter you didn't catch with the pastry cutter mixed in. Grab all that flour. Okay. This will be a perfect snack with my morning coffee tomorrow, or maybe my tea later on this evening. We'll see. Just got done with the Thanksgiving holiday. This is always something nice to bring along for everybody after dinner. Just gonna form this into a small bowl. Making sure everything's mixed in. Again, it'll just be a soft dough. All the ingredients are combined. Okay. Okay, so here we have our nicely formed dough. All right, have a little bit of extra flour here. I'm going to use to flour my clean surface here. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to knead the dough about 6 to 8 times. A little more flour here. Add a little more if you need. Just a couple more times here. Folding and kneading. All right, and then we're gonna form this dough into a nice little circle here. Just kind of flattening out. Maybe I'll flip it over here. A little more. Tuck the ends in a little bit here. Making sure it's even. What we're going to do next is we're going to cut it into the triangle of the scone. I'm going to use a pizza cutter for this. Be very careful, it's very sharp, which we need. All right, so like that. Just making some nice triangle shapes. Looks like I have some larger ones, some smaller ones. That's okay. This one's good. I'm just gonna pull these apart, see what we have here. Okay, this one can be cut. Again, be very careful with the pizza cutter. Okay, very sharp. Alright, it looks like we have a nice size, variety of scone sizes. This nice triangular shape. You can see the cranberries, little orange zest. Alright, and then the next step will be You can use a pastry brush, or sometimes I just like to use my fingertips. We're going to take some 2% milk and just brush the tops. Okay. I have the oven warming up behind me at about 400. And we are at a higher elevation, so I have it set to 405. Okay. All right. So just brush the tops with the 2% milk. Okay, and then I have our baking sheet all ready to go, lightly lined with some avocado oil to prevent sticking. Okay, and then I'm just going to spread these out onto the tray. This is a nice sized tray, should fit everything. Okay, that one more time. Okay, so everything's all ready to go into the oven. And I will see you back here in a little bit for the finishing touches. Okay, so welcome back. We have taken the scones out of the oven. And they are a nice golden brown. Smells so delicious in here. And next we're going to make the orange glaze for on top. This is optional, but it has a little sweetness. We're going to take our 1/2 cup of confectioner's sugar. All right, and then we're going to mix a little bit of orange juice. Use my little mini whisk here. Blend this all together into a nice glaze. It's coming together nicely. Make sure all the sugar is well blended in. Okay. And what I'm gonna do, after this is nicely mixed together, I'm going to grab a small spatula. Okay. And I'm gonna you can use a pastry brush or maybe a spoon. Just gonna take a little bit of glaze. Just cover each one. I'm gonna do this while they're warm. So it melts against the scone surface here. All right, and remember when the scones were baking in the oven, they were using 3 forms of heat transfer. There is the convection, where the hot air is circulating all around the oven, moving around all sides to evenly bake the scones. It's also using conduction. The heat is coming up from the pan, the baking sheet that it's baking on, and the radiation from the electric heat of the stove. Okay. All right, and I always use oven mitts or large pot holders when taking things in and out of the oven. Always be very careful not to burn yourself. These are looking delicious. All right. Okay, so here we have our finished glazed scones. And for an extra fancy step, you can combine some orange marmalade with warm butter to dip the scones in. So excited to try these with a cup of tea. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to sharing more recipes with you here on Healthy with Jolene. Have a great night.